Hey folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. This direct YouTube special is brought to you by Carl G, who donated to see a blue-black Dreadnought deck in action. This list is pretty interesting. It has some old cards that you might not know. So you are probably familiar with the general idea of Phyrexian Dreadnought if you've been around this channel for a while. People have been loving seeing it in action recently. So it's a 12/12 that has a trigger that you have to sacrifice it unless you can sacrifice 12 power worth of creatures. But there's some ways that you can stop that trigger from happening. And the way that Blue-Black Dreadnought usually does this is with the card Stifle. But we also have the super spicy Vision Charm. It has 3 modes. You can make a player mill 4. You can choose a land type and a basic land type. Each land of the first chosen type becomes the second chosen type until end of turn. I don't think we're going to use that. And then the third type is what we actually want to use. Target artifact phases out. So the idea is that with the Phyrexian Dreadnought trigger on the stack, you can go and phase it out, which kind of blinks it. Not exactly blinks it. It's weird. And then it phases back in, and the trigger has already happened, so you don't have to worry about that. The other thing we have going on here is Lasav the Multifarious. So when it ETBs, you surveil 1, which means you look at the top card of your library and you can put it into your graveyard if you want. And for X mana, which will normally be 1 in this deck, you can have it become a copy of a creature card in your graveyard. So the idea is that you can pay 1 mana if there's a Dreadnought in the graveyard and your Lasav becomes a Dreadnought. The rest of the deck is a Delver shell, although we do have a spicy Unearth here. And the sideboard is kind of flexible, allowing you to pivot a little bit out of the Dreadnought shell if you need to, with things like Dark Confidant, Plague Engineer, and Brazen Borrower as alternative threats that also exert some pressure on the game in one way or another. Since we've played a decent amount of Dreadnought on this channel, I'm not going to beat the dead horse in the deck tech. Let's jump right into the games. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing if you're a big Legacy fan. And if you're regularly watching, throw me a like before the video gets started. That sort of thing helps out a lot with my metrics. All right, let's battle. Alright, game 1 looks like it's going to be a Delver game rather than a Phyrexian Dreadnought game. We're just going to open up on Underground Sea, Delver of Secrets, and have Force of Will plus Wasteland as other disruptive elements beyond that. This is not going to be a particularly good hand if this is something like Maverick. Alright. I think I have to let that one happen. So in all likelihood, Vision Charm just gets pitched to Force of Will this game, unless I just happen to draw a Dreadnought, like, immediately. Elves is quite good against blue decks right now. Allosaurus Shepherd is just a beating. I can't reasonably take this block. I have to win the game with this Delver. Main deck decays or something? No, once upon a time. Probably once upon a time. Do I want to brainstorm? I don't think I do. It's really tempting to try and just flip the Delver there and just go absolutely as aggro as possible. Alright, I'll put back a basic Swamp and a Vision Charm. I'll set an upkeep stop for my turn. That was a bad brainstorm. Think I'm happy enough with this. I'm not thrilled, but like, I got a Sinkhole, and I have another Wasteland beyond this. Okay. I can get rid of this stop now. Yep. Yep, my angle of interaction is just gone. And by the time I get to wasteland this guy's cradle, the damage will probably already be done. Well, I don't need to worry about keeping blue card in hand for Force of Will anymore. Alright. The cat is on the counter, and I am powerless to do anything about it right now. You win this round, Midnight. Also, Elves' opponent also wins this round. So it costs 6 to activate this, so this is 4, 5. So what's going to happen is I'm going to block this Allosaurus Shepherd, and my opponent is just going to bounce it. Yep. Yep. I think this Thoughtseize basically does nothing. Yep. My opponent plays Dryad Arbor. Then they just have 6 mana to activate and turn 3 of their elves into 5/5s. Alright. Bring on the Plague Engineers. Alright. 2 Plague Engineers, 2 Grafdigger's Cage. Eh? Am I transforming? I probably, at the very least, reduce the package. I probably just keep the Stifles because they're just fine against fetch lands and sometimes things like Craterhoof triggers. This is my starting point. And then if I want to play full-on control, I can do this. This would literally leave me with 4 Delvers to win the game with, realistically, plus a Brazen Borrower. That might be a little light. Maybe I keep 1 or 2 Dreadnoughts in. Keep 1. I'll keep 1. Like, it's either that or play a Force of Negation, and I don't know that I want to add extra counterspells to my deck because Allosaurus Shepherd is just brutal. While this hand doesn't have a Plague Engineer, this hand has very good things associated with it. I might be, like, very, very aggressive with this Force of Will and Daze, though, and just take basically any card, hoping that Bob will allow me to refuel. Also could be a time that I cast a Force of Will over a Daze so that I can play a Bob onto. The tempo matters a lot. Yeah, do I want to Force of Will this so that I can play Bob and still disrupt them? I think I do. I want to cash in this Force of Will while this Force of Will is still live. Oh, that's beautiful. I don't think I want to show that. Now Bob can start funneling me towards removal spells and things of that general nature. I think I should have considered playing Wasteland pre-combat. I think I'm just getting decayed. And I think I'm good with this. There's a temptation to brainstorm because Grafter's Cage and Thoughtseize are good hits, but I would much rather save this. I'm probably going to have some cards that I'm going to want to shuffle away next turn, and I'm probably going to have the mana to make that reasonable. Interesting. I think this is a fine opportunity to go ahead and brainstorm. Oh, baby. I'll just throw back 2 lands here. I think I'm going to hold up both Stifle and Brazen Borrower here rather than play out another Bob. Like, I just have a lot of options here, including some cheeky ones where, like, my opponent casts an Allosaurus Shepherd thinking their stuff is going to be uncounterable, and then I just, like, bounce it in Force of Will, pitching the Stifle. The exact line I was talking about to happen? I think it is. Now I'll be able to attack my opponent down to 10. And have them on a 2-turn clock, maybe? I can find a removal spell for an Allosaurus Shepherd off a Bob. Hello? I would like the priority. All right. Not a bad turn cycle. Okay, so now the question is, am I just holding up Brazen Borrower? There's a lot of ways to play this turn. So I can just cast a thing that has evasion. I can just cast two things, or I can cast one thing and hold up Stifle. Because I have a couple of high impact cards for this matchup in my sideboard, I think I am just going to go ahead and go this route. Like, if I were to find a Plague Engineer or a Grafdigger's Cage, it would just feel so much safer. Alright. See how bad it is. The turn has to more or less involve a Gaia's Cradle in order for me to really be scared. Oh, did my Revealed Zone lag? I think my Revealed Zone lagged and I could have flipped Delver there. That's annoying. Because when I looked at it, it said Dark Confidant, but then I drew Stifle. Alright, I think I just passed the turn with two Stifles and Brazen Borrower available. Yep. If it's a hoof, though, I can just stifle the trigger. I don't think it's going to be a hoof. I think it's going to be an Archon. Oh, that the Archon is an as, not a when, so I don't have an opportunity to stifle that. Alright, let's do the Delver first. That way, the revealed zone is cleaner. Grafdigger's Cage. Do I want to reveal that? No. A lot of bobs. Alright, I don't get to cast that. I think I'm just turning creatures sideways. Like, I'll lose this, and I guess my opponent has to trade off for one of the bobs here. That'll hit him for 3. And I can do something like play a second bob. I think the cage is better than a third bob. The cage just insulates me from some shenanigans. My opponent's out here might be me, like, flipping double Force of Will to bob. No, I don't want to reveal Plague Engineer. Please don't let me die when I have lethal, like, on board here. That is how it goes, huh? Okay, I've opened up on another Delver hand, so to speak. So the Stiflenought version plays Phyrexian Dreadnought. A bunch of the other versions that I've been playing play something else. Oh, geez, it's Slivers. Um, Play some other large creature effect, but it's not really very replaceable here. I think I need to flip this Delver this turn and get my opponent dead. I'm not mad, you're mad. God damn it. Yeah, yeah, I know. I think if my opponent is able to make land drops and deploy creatures, I am going to lose, which is why I have taken the line that I have taken. Unfortunately, my opponent had 3 lands plus a vial. Underground Sea. Thank you. Thank you so much, Underground Sea. You are a great help. Alright. There's my opponent's 4th land. Wasteland Gambit did not pay off. Yeah, honestly, I'm probably pretty dead here. My opponent is just going to clock faster than I am. Unless I, like, flip to Brainstorm here. Yes, I will reveal Stifle. I will not draw Stifle. Alright. Actually, maybe I just cycle that. Maybe that's the degree of desperation I'm in. We do have, like, a normal amount of land in this deck, right? I didn't count. But it didn't look egregious when I downloaded the deck list. Thank you, deck. Very nice. Okay. I want eliminates and plague engineers for sure. Bob is trickier. because the life loss is very real. I also have Cavernous Souls to think about. I don't think I go deeper than this. I think I pitch the Vision Charms and the Unearths. The Unearth, one of them. And call this good. The Brazen Borrower actually might be better than one of the Lasavs just as a flyer. An issue being, though, that there's a couple of different slivers that give all slivers flying. Deck. Please. This isn't really great. Unless I find a Dreadnought, this hand does nothing. Like, I interact with my opponent a little bit, but, like, this hand does not have a plan to win. Like, this is a reasonable 6-card hand, but I don't think it wins. I have no cantrip to find a Dreadnought. No. Alright. I think I'm officially to the point of hoping that I rip a land off the top. Don't need that. Stop. I rip a land off the top, I make a 12/12 on turn 2 and put my opponent on a 2-turn clock. Island? Island is weird. Alright. Well, that's not a land. Still pretty good. Yep. Alright. We have done the thing. We will now see if the thing is good enough. I don't expect too many ways to take out a Phyrexian Dreadnought. There's occasionally a bounce spell. Harmonic Sliver could do it, but I don't expect that to be in the deck currently. A Necrotic Sliver could do it, but slowly. Trample means that the Hibernation Sliver block bounce sorts of situations aren't going to, like, invalidate this. I guess I'll hold this for a brainstorm. Alright. We lose somehow. Like, it can happen. I guess there's also a world where my opponent could straight up make 12 power and trade with this Dreadnought. No, I don't want to reveal Phyrexian Dreadnought. Alright. Is everything okay? Thing is not okay. I can't daze that successfully because my opponent has Island up. I mean, at the end of the day, I still have a Delver in play. And I guess I'm just another Stifle away from having another Dreadnought. Like, as long as my Delver flips in a reasonable time span, I'm okay. Like, we're still very far away from that being active. So, like, part of this is deck building, right? Like, there's a bunch of Dreadnoughts and Lasavs in the deck over just more instants and sorceries, and that sort of thing is definitely noticeable. God damn it. Alright, I don't want your shit to fly. Let's trade. Alright, that now was a little bit lucky on my end. Okay, all victory. Now we need to do it one more time. Um, Thoughtseize on the draw is a little rough. Days on the draw is not ideal. I don't know that I'm far enough in the control role here that I can play the Bobs. Like, if my opponent is on the play and they're the beatdown, I play Bob and flip a Force of Will. That probably ends up killing me. So I think I'm just going to ship this as is. But I don't feel great about the matchup in general. I don't like this hand. This is a hand where the Lasav and the Stifle right now don't really do anything. The days on the draw is slow. The eliminate is eh. Like, I might just need to keep a turn 1 Delver. because most of my draws are good. Like a Dreadnought is good, any cantrip is good. I basically don't want to hit lands, and everything else is pretty reasonable. Um, Maybe I'm supposed to mulligan once and try to make a 12/12. I don't know. If my opponent leads on an Ether Vial, I feel like I lose this one. I'm gonna look for a Dreadnought if I can. Uh, this hand can be very good against a non-Ether Vial start, but unfortunately I think this puts me in a similar position as the last hand, where if my opponent plays a Vial, I end up woefully behind. On 6, I'm going to keep this and hope that I can disrupt my opponent's mana, and buy myself time to create a decent hand. Yeah, that's fine. Like, if I just take 2 damage from a striking sliver, as the opportunity cost for wastelanding my opponent twice, that's fine. This doesn't cast a lot of your cards. I am a big believer in building solid mana bases. And I don't think you get to run basic lands and utility lands in your 5-color deck. Alright. Hopefully this is giving me the time I need to brainstorm and fix this hand. Ooh, Delver. Yeah, this is fine. Set a stop here. How do I want to do this? Do I dislike these cards enough that I want to shuffle? Like, I can fetch Brainstorm, then play Delver. I can just play Underground Sea. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I think I'm just going to play Underground Sea and Delver. Brainstorm on my opponent's turn if I need to. Alright. I will float one. Daze this. I'll return the thing that can be wastelanded in case my opponent has wasteland. Now that my mana looks like this and I can't just hardcast Brazen Borrower next turn, I will go ahead and just fire off a Brainstorm to flip the Delver. Nice. Alright, so I'll flip to Stifle next turn and make a 12/12. Okay. Never mind, it will take me one more turn. and we'll actually see whether or not I end up making a 12-12 or just playing a Plague Engineer. Will depend on whether or not my opponent makes a Lord. That is you or a permanent you control. So this is definitely time for me to just cash this in now before that's in play. I think I just go ahead and make my 12-12 here. It's tempting to go big and just like slam the Plague Engineer on this weak board. I don't understand this pause. You let this hit play, and then if I have a stifle, you counter that if you have a counter. No counter. I think between 6 power in the air and a Plague Engineer, I've got things on lockdown. Even if something like a Harmonic Sliver destroys my Phyrexian Dreadnought. And Harmonic Sliver is no longer bugged, or at least so I've heard, which is nice. I think my opponent lost this match to their mana base, if I'm being honest. Like, the greed of having Caracas and Basic Island in your 5-color deck, like, that meant that my opponent probably had multiple turns where they couldn't deploy all of the cards that were in their hand. And that tempo hit was devastating. Like, yes, this allowed them to play around a wasteland for 1 turn, but I don't know that that's actually worth the cost. All right, we're on a Delver opening hand. Let's try to do Delver things. I don't think our opponent is going to interact with us. Well, that's a no. I'm not sure exactly how the... I'm going to pull this comment on stream just so you all can see it. This is decidedly not spice. I'm disappointed. Just you wait. Yeah, Vision Charm. I think that qualifies as spice. I'm hoping that I just blind flip this Delver and I can murder my opponent quickly. Alright, no revealing Underground Sea. Let's ponder. Oh, wow, that's really good. Alright, so let's put back this on the bottom. I'll flip to Daze and I'll Wasteland this turn. We're hoping to just Delver our opponent here. Oh? Sure, that's reasonable. I've got this daze now. I think I'll just fetch a swamp. I don't think I'm too worried about Rishadan Port. Like I have 3 power in play. I will put that into my graveyard. Yes, that's fine. Is this spicy enough, Grumsh? Hmm? Have we hit an acceptable spice threshold? Yeah, that's fine. Though slightly awkward in some ways. My day's losing out on a lot due to Gaia's Cradle here. uh, okay. Spicy enough for you? We got the yeah with a frowny face. I'll consider that a win. Alright. So the Plague Engineers are a slam dunk. I probably want to play Eliminates. And then from there, it's a little bit trickier. Grafter's Cage is super cool versus Moxus, but otherwise a little So Grafter's Cage stops things from entering from graveyards and libraries, but not off something like, say, an Aether Vial or a Goblin Lackey like a Containment Priest might. I think once again, I'm going to start by shaving the Unearths and Vision Charms, and then I'll make decisions from there. I like the raw resources that Bob provides. I like the evasion of Brazen Borrower. Maybe I go down and try something that looks like this. Maybe I don't go all the way with the Bobs. Cutting the Vision Charms and the Lasavs does mean that I'm a little bit worse at just making the 12/12 as quickly as possible. Thoughtseize on the draw is not great. I lose out on the... Maybe Thoughtseize on the draw is bad. I just lose out on the opportunity to punch a hole in my opponent's hand by taking a Lackey or a Vial. Maybe I can go like Ah, I really love Force of Negation. I just keep this as a 1/3 butt. Maybe I just keep these as a 1/3 butt. I don't know. I think I want my Thoughtseizes on the play. Hmm. Well, this one looks almost great. Yep, it's fine. I think I just put back a land here. Actually, do I put back the Underground Sea? Put back the Underground Sea. Use first Stifle on Goblin Lackey trigger. Use second Stifle on my Dreadnought. Totally happy with that draw. Schadenport messes with me a bit. Ah, Schadenport. Don't Pyroblast me. Nice. Now there are still things like Trashmaster that can interrupt my plans. I think I'm supposed to bounce the Goblin Lackey if it attacks in. If my opponent plays a Trackmaster and destroys this, I do still just have a 2-turn clock in Brazen Borrower. Yep. Our situation is probably even-ish. Just kind of feel like my opponent has a removal spell for this Brazen Borrower. Yep. But I don't really think I have the resources to play around that. A Plague Engineer would be sick. But this is the turn where the shit can hit the fan for me. Yep. Damage report. is bad. Plague Engineer would still be sick, just saying. Thank you, Days. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think I don't literally die this turn, but I think I can't win after this turn. Oh, yep. I think that just gets Pashalic Bonds, and then I die. Yep. Yep. Now that my opponent has Skark Prospector in play, my Days does nothing. Okay, we were just not gonna get there this game. Good God. Alright. So I will Thoughtseize on the play over the Lasavs and maybe one Force of Will? Maybe that makes sense. Or maybe I want like 3 Thoughtseizes. That also makes sense. Find Delver Hand. I think I'm just going to open on a basic island. With this hand, I intend on just playing Delver into Bob. I believe that is still my intention. Attack first because of Pyrokinesis. There's a lot of ways to play the previous turn, but I think I just want to put Bob in play. Like, if Bob trades for a Munitions Expert on the next turn, I'm good with that. It means I'm still clocking my opponent. Oh, wow. Alright, let's Thoughtseize. And see if I can poke a hole in this hand in some way. I think I'm just going to take the Matron and hope I kill my opponent before Sling Gang becomes a problem. Like, I'll Brainstorm in my upkeep next turn. Maybe let's not always yield to that. Nice. Okay. I think this is a time where I just wasteland the Badlands, and I think I even consider stifling this Aether Vial trigger. Nah, I can wait. Because I'll just have the mana up either way. Nice. Good stuff. Alright, I've kept a hand that makes a Phyrexian Dreadnought on turn 2, and plays the Delver on turn 1. Win-win. Like, I even have Force of Will backup for all my shenanigans. Got. I'm sorry, friend. Am I actually sorry, though? No. No. No, I'm not. Like, Delver off an opposing Ancient Tomb start was bad enough, but Phyrexian Dreadnought is, like, literally a turn 3 goldfish. That's pretty disgusting. So I don't know exactly which flavor of Chalice deck we're playing against. 100% of the time I want these. I think like every round, I'm going to start by cutting Vision Charm and Unearth. That puts me at 59. I think I want some amount of this stuff, and I'm just not sure how much of it. I think Thoughtseize loses out a lot on the draw versus the Chalice deck. So if my opponent is Red Prison, I want the Plague Engineer for the Goblins, and I want the Eliminates to just kill creatures. And then one Bob for good luck. And then in future rounds, if we have future rounds, I can adjust a little bit based on what I actually see this game. I mean, yeah, I'm stone cold dead to a Chalice. But I make a turn 2 12/12 if my opponent does not have exactly Chalice of the Void. I am good with that. Like, it doesn't matter if I get, like, mooned, for example. I don't care about goblins. I will clock faster. Don't care about something like a stomp. Yeah, that's fine. What we got? Underground Sea. No, I will not reveal that. I will play it. I don't want to show my opponent the wasteland before I have to. my opponent is not going to have very many ways to answer a Phyrexian Dreadnought that's in play. Fiery Confluence is not seeing as much play as it used to. It will be devastating if my opponent has one, though. No doubts about that, because they can do 1 damage to everything, destroy target artifact, and deal 2 to me. I don't think that matters. I think I just killed too quickly. This card's great and all, but I'm hitting in stacks of 12. I have a very complicated turn here. Very complicated. Might be hard to see the lines that I'm going to take here. But we're just not sure if 1-12-12 is good enough, you know? Call it face. Do I want to kill this thing? There is specifically Ensnaring Bridge that I need to be thinking about. That's, like, I think the only card that I care about. And if I kill this, I have more time to find an out to Ensnaring Bridge. I think I'm just going to send it all at them. Like, they have to have Soul Land plus Ensnaring Bridge. I think it's more likely that my opponent could cobble together some other random thing that might buy time. Alright, my opponent thought for a second and conceded the game. Alright, so we're already positive in this league. Let's see if we can turn this into a 4-1. Okay, so with how my hands have played out the last couple of rounds, having the ability to either start with an early Delver or make a quick Dreadnought is a path to success. I think if I were playing a regular Delver deck, I would consider keeping this hand, because you can play a slightly longer game. You have elements like expressive iteration, explosive iteration, or the whale or Uro that let you grind in the end game, and I don't have that so much here. So I think I'm going to try to get a little more oomph out of my opening hand and just mulligan this one. Eh. Get rid of this upkeep stop. I don't know at what pace I'll be playing this game. My opponent gives me something that I can wasteland. I might just wasteland next turn. Otherwise, I'll brainstorm and try to set up. Alright, we might be playing against a combo deck. When I say preordain, the first thing that comes to my mind is usually something like show and tell. Go ahead and play this out. If this brainstorm were to get dazed, it would be a disaster. Oh, baby. Land back, probably. So I'll go make a Delver this turn, make a 12/12 next turn. I think it's right to pitch the Wasteland. I also could have considered dazing that, but I think I want this for a payoff spell of some kind. You don't get to stop this beautiful, beautiful combination. Absolutely not. I will not feel the Phyrexian Dreadnought. Let's go! Pressure's on, combo deck. If our opponent is just like Doomsday, just making a Phyrexian Dreadnought is scary as hell, because they have to win that turn, or they just get punched for 12 and die. So that'll probably bottom the cards from the Brainstorm. Yep. Yes, I will reveal Ponder. Hit for 15. Now I want to find... Oh, Brainstorm's really good. Brainstorm means I can get Daze and Force of Will simultaneously. Yep. Let's call that good. Alright, I believe Doomsday is no longer castable, because I think it rounds up. Yep. Alright, let's assume that I'm playing against Doomsday. I will want Force of Negations and Surgicals. Surgicals can either mess up the pile order, or I can counter a Doomsday and then extract them. There is a world where I'm playing against Storm. And in that world, Grafdigger's Cage and Plague Engineer have more text. Alright. Unearth out. I think I want Bobs over Lasavs here. And I think I probably cut Vision Charms if I'm doing that. And I think that's exactly 4 slots for Bobs. That's fine. This gives me a pretty good amount of interaction. Ooh, and I do have Stifle for Thassa's Oracle. If it ends up that my opponent is on a Storm deck like Ant instead, I can look at some of these cards as well. But before I have confirmation, I think I'm just going to board for Doomsday. Yeah, this is fine. This Wasteland's my opponent if they have a non-basic. And then it will make a Phyrexian Dreadnought once I have 2 mana. Which might not be until like turn 4. But I think I'm good with just resetting the clock here. I am going to be hoping not to use the Daze or Stifle on my opponent's lands. I might do it given the opportunity, but I'm hoping to just produce a 12/12 on my next turn. I think I just need to present that pressure. Off Wasteland, off Underground Sea. Maybe off Underground Sea. Big Dreadnought. I think I will go ahead and Daze this. This funnels my opponent into only having one color of mana. Alright, Storm is now more likely than Doomsday. Alright, peer into the Abyss for half their library. That should kill me. So my opponent might be the dedicated peer into the Abyss Storm deck rather than Ant. I don't think that runs past In Flames. I think it's purely blue-black. Also don't think it runs Empty the Warrens, but I'm not sure about the sideboard cards. I'll take a second to think about this. Okay. I'm guessing Surgical Extraction is going to be less good than I want it to be in this matchup. Against Ant, it like regularly shuts off things like Past in Flames, but I don't know that I'm actually going to be shutting that off here. I think I'm going to go ahead and board that out and board into Plague Engineers as a safety net versus Goblins. I could be wrong, and Grafdigger's Cage could be okay, or like a Surgical could stop a Past in Flames line potentially. But some of these lists that I was just looking at are only blue-black, so I don't know. It's hard to Google this list quickly and get a lot of good results. Yeah, this hand's great. Because some of the peer lists are quite new. I'm now thinking about their mulligan. I'll probably just start with Thoughtseize into Bob with Days backup. Alright, I mean, I'll take a peer into the Abyss. This is the exact sort of situation where the Surgical would have been insane. No shuffle. Block. Block. So I might now consider just dazing the next thing that I can daze purely as a speed bump. I'm not expecting my opponent to be able to take a Phyrexian Dreadnought out of play. Like, I'm expecting my opponent to just try and combo off. Like, faster than me, or with the ability to grind through via discard. I think I'm just going to go ahead and snipe this, because next turn, the daze becomes significantly less good. Because my opponent can, like, play a cantrip and then Dark Ritual in response to a daze or something. Oh, I guess let's take my 12 damage. I would specifically like to find a Force of Will or a discard spell. Sequencing for this turn's kind of weird. If I want to find a discard spell, I want to play Island first and leave that black mana available. Then there's also worlds where I want to, like, brainstorm first, have the ability to ponder, shuffle. I think I really want to be able to cast a discard spell if I find one. Word. Okay, I have made my land drop. So I think I just go ahead and pass the turn here. I have the ability to brainstorm after a duress even to try and find a piece of disruption. Ooh. That's not the end of the world. I can play a Bob as a follow-up. Not great for me, because I thought my opponent was going to be on a one-turn clock. My opponent could theoretically cast a Pure right now. They're thinking about something. Okay. Now what do I want to do? I think just flooping a Bob into play and holding up Brainstorm is fine. I Brainstorm first, though, to see if I find a Thoughtseize specifically. I would rather Thoughtseize than Bob after that long pause that my opponent did. I will do that. It can also, like, be used to set up my Bob for next turn. Thoughtseize into Delver is fine. The Delver won't flip. But that's okay. Ah, they were thinking about using a ritual to solve the equation. Sure. Alright. So now we're at the mercy of my opponent's deck. If they top a Peer into the Abyss, I lose. Alright, so this will probably just bottom. I'm gonna guess that one of these rituals is now gone. This one's gonna be a nail biter. I would guess that my opponent is currently favored. Unfortunately. They just have so many redraws that allow them to look for a Peer. Alright. Delver flipping blind here would be huge. Alright, so Misty Rainforest is currently on top. So no, I won't reveal that. That was no shuffle with the Ponder. Then Brainstorm. My opponent fetches, I will stifle it just to keep whatever cards are on top of their library on top of their library. My opponent draws half of their deck. They will be able to use a discard spell before they cast a storm spell. Alright. See if I die. Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Tendrils. That's really frustrating. My stifle there is the difference between me being dead and not. Ugh. I think I'm supposed to stifle there because, like, if they have like another cantrip, it's the difference between them getting looks at fresh cards and not. But that is admittedly a little bit frustrating. Overall thoughts on the deck list? Fine. I don't think this deck is overly good, but it hits hard. We did not cast a Vision Charm the entire league, and I think like this card is much worse than Stifle, just kind of in a vacuum. And so it's not surprising that I kept boarding it out. Similarly, I boarded out Unearth in every single round. So I would be looking to replace those cards with some more reasonable cards of some nature. Maybe main deck Brazen Borrowers, like around 2 of those, so that you can have some out to a Chalice of the Void, because this deck has 28 1-drops as it stands right now, and that's kind of insane. I think I like 2-ish Brazen Borrowers. I'm not sure what to do with the other 2 slots, if I'm being honest. Like, maybe just another threat. I don't know. Like, if you're adding 2 Brazen Borrowers, maybe you don't need another threat beyond that. But overall, I felt like I had decent options. You could maybe even play like 2 Bobs in the main deck. I don't think that would be crazy. Um, but like that said, if you add like 2 Brazen Borrowers and 2 Bobs to the main decks, that's going to be fewer cards that actually flip the Delver. That's something to think about as well. I enjoyed playing the league. It was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed as well. If you did, please consider clicking the like button, subscribe if you're regularly watching my content and you want to see more. And if you want to see your own deck on stream, donation information as well as the deck lists are always in the video descriptions. All right, have a great rest of the day. See ya.